thank you very much for being here. First of all, Matt, he's the owner of one of the greatest coffee spots in Encinitas, the Ironsmith, which personally, I love your place. Like, that's a true thing. You see me a lot of times there. Saturdays, Sundays, Fridays, I'm all the time there. And you have pretty good coffee. I love that you are genuinely, it's authentic. You can perceive that it's something original. All the people that work there, let me please ask you this thing, super respectfully. All the girls that are working there, they're absolutely beautiful. Why? That's a marketing strategy. That's every time I'm there, I'm like, they're all models, you know? Like, and I'm like, you know, I don't know if it's a marketing strategy. I'm saying this respectfully, of course. But yeah, definitely. I would love to, to know more about you, about your business. How do you start? We're gonna talk a lot of things right now, but please answer me that question. It's a marketing strategy. It's just like, they ask for a job and it's luck.
Yeah, you know what? I hardly, if ever, market job opportunities. I don't ever advertise it.
Okay.
So, and I don't mean this in any way, but they all come to me.
Okay.
And a lot of what happens is, someone might start working for me and say, hours open, and they might say, I have a friend that I know of a friend, and it's just like a network.
Mm-hmm.
And really when I hire people, I hardly, and being a barista, and look, 2 days, not that it's rocket science, there's a skill set that's required, but that can be learned.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hire people, I never look for experience. I almost prefer no experience.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I don't look for and obviously that comes with the responsibility of training somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to understand that. But when I hire someone, I just talk to them like we're talking right now, and we just talk, and do I drive with this person? Do I like the personality? And when those things hit, it's those things that you can, as you know, in the service industry, of course, man, that's everything.
Yeah.
The product could be amazing, but if the service is terrible, I mean, it's gonna go down real quick. So I look at it from that perspective. I'm like, is this person good? And looks-wise, I mean, we live in Encinitas. There's a lot of good people here.
Of course, yeah.
So
that's real, I know.
So it's almost like anyone you pick's gonna be great on that.
Of course. Oh yeah, 100%. I need to ask
And that's a flattering thing. I'll look at that.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the first person I need to ask him because and of course, I mean, I noticed that you have like super good service because it's a coffee that, like, all the people that work there, I feel it like as a family. I always observe like all the business around here, and every time that I'm going to Ironsmith, everybody they're like a family because you are all the time there with more friends hanging out. All the people that is working there, they are like, it seems that they're having a great time working there. So that's like that's great. I love that.
And most of them didn't really all know each other before they started working there. They all became friends.
Okay.
And so I think there's a bridge that happens. Like when I hire somebody and I'm like, hey, I would be friends with you. And all of a sudden I'm with my employee, like I would be a friend with you. And I hire them. And if I'm doing that with everybody, if I'm that bridge, like to some degree, I'm picking people that I probably know will become friends too. Like there's something there, especially if I'm saying, hey, I like you, I'd probably hang out with you.
Of course.
And so that starts to happen, and all the girls there, I mean, they hang out outside the shop.
Yeah.
There comes with the downside of, hey, we're gonna take vacations together.
Yeah.
But
I would much
rather have that.
Okay.
They're friends, so that's probably what you're experiencing when they come into the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Man, these people just hanging out.
Yeah.
And they kind of are.
Yeah.
They.
No, and I think it's great. Like us that we just opened this restaurant in July of last year. We're a group from Mexico City. We have more restaurants over there. This is the first in the US, and I did notice that how you operate a business here and how you operate a business out there is completely different. Like, it's starting on the labor cost part, which is insane for me, coming from a country where you have so many hands, that you can have 18 guys on the floor, that you can have 3 bartenders, 3 hostess, and I'm talking about like a restaurant. But it's the same thing. Like, you see coffee shops over there, and you can have like 4 or 5 baristas. You can have, it's like a lot of people managing one place. And I love to be here because I noticed that all the owners like you, like me, we are in the places, working the places. Like I've seen you a lot of times, and it's the same like with all of the owners on the other restaurants or bars or the coffee shops. They are working their brand. They are there. They care about the people like you. So I really love that part, you know. And right now that I'm here, you know, like with the clients, sometimes I'm the server, sometimes I'm the boss, or I'm cleaning tables, I'm the dishwasher. And in Mexico, you just go there, you sit down with your friends and drink, and you're like, you know, like the top there. So it's completely different, you know, how they operate in that part of the labor cost. But let me ask you something. So let's go a little bit back. Tell me how was your childhood? Are you from Encinitas? Well, you're from California. You're born here. How was that childhood? What was like your favorite things when you were a young kid? What was your dream?
Yeah. So when I grew up in California, in Los Angeles. My parents are from the Philippines. So
Okay.
I was born here, but my parents are from the Philippines.
Mhm.
So I grew up middle class in suburban neighborhoods up in LA.
Okay.
Amazing childhood. Like, you know, I had everything I needed. My parents always fed me, always had clothes on my back. But we were just like a middle class family, you know. My parents came from the Philippines, so they came here to start a new life, and they did really well. And I look, you know, looking back at it now, you know, if I'm a fraction of what my parents were, that would be amazing, right? So, a really amazing childhood. I was born in the '80s, grew up in the '90s, and in the 2000s, early 2000s, when I graduated high school, I was actually in the military. I was in the Marine Corps here in the U.S. So I left Los Angeles, California, just went to the Marines.
Wow.
And I was a product of that generation here in America in the '90s specifically, watching military movies and G.I. Joe, the really popular cartoon. So I was influenced by it all. I was like, I'm going to be in the military. Yeah. So I joined the Marine Corps. This is after 9/11 that happened here in the U.S. in 2001. And so that was part of it. I was, you know, the perfect generation for that. I was in high school. Like, yeah, I'm going to fight for this country, of course. So I did that for 5 years, traveled all over the world, lived in Japan, deployed a lot to the Middle East, to Iraq and Afghanistan. Wow. And after 5 years, I decided to get out of the Marine Corps. Like, it's not for me, I'm not going to make this a career. And left that, worked essentially as a contractor for the military as a civilian. That's what got me here to San Diego in 2008.
Right.
So I worked in essentially the tech government side of the world. Did that for 5 years. I'm like, this is not for me. Coffee, interesting enough. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but coffee wasn't what it is now. Back then. So back then, you had a handful of coffee shops that were essentially doing what I do now. There was only a handful of them. And so what I realized, and I liked coffee at the time, I was just getting into coffee around 2010.
Right.
I was like, you know, this is something that I felt like I was capable of doing. I was young enough to be naive enough to think that I could do it. That's a requirement, right? To think like, I can do this. So I had that, and so sort of dove head in and just jumped off that cliff. And here's the funny thing, I never worked as a barista.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay, that's interesting.
Didn't know a clue about making coffee.
Yeah.
I liked it. I made it at home, but I had no idea about the service industry. I didn't know anything. After high school, I was in the military. That was it.
Yeah.
And then after that, I worked on computers. I never worked in the service industry. Never handled cash. Didn't know how to deal with cash. So I had to figure all that out.
Like the operation, the service part, like you work, you have like no idea. Well, same thing. Like I don't even know how to cook like quesadillas to be honest with you. Like I cannot make cereal, you know. I'm a mess in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But like you, like I always love, you know, like the industry, the service part. I started like super young as well. Like you, working in the bars, in the nightclubs, in the restaurant industry in Mexico. And you know what it's great is that I always think like having, you know, like coffee shops, restaurants, bars, nightclubs is like the only time where the people can actually like live the moment and not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. If they are like in the Ironsmith, at Pumpamar, or whatever they are just having a good time at that moment. So I love to give like that little bit of joy, you know, to the people. And I always, that's my philosophy in this industry, you know, that to give them a little bit of the present and not think about the future or the past. They're just enjoying and living the moment. But so you open this is your first coffee shop.
Right.
and you've been here for almost what?
10 years.
10 years,
It's February,
which is
10 years.
great.
Yeah.
So, how do you start it? Like, you use like, you have money before, and you get investors. How do you find the place? Because you have a great location, to be honest with you, way better than mine, which I'm like passing the sign and Encinitas. And it's horrible, you know what, I'm gonna tell you something funny. Like, every time like they make like parades in Encinitas or like the holidays, you know that there's a lot of people. They always like end all the festivals or the parades on the corner where you go. So I'm like, why? And they cut me out, you know? They're like,
Yeah.
so it's horrible for me because I don't get people those days. Instead of having a bunch of people, I have nobody.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah, right on D Street.
Yeah, it's horrible. But
So how do I get started? Is your question?
yeah, how do you get started? Like,
It was completely bootstrapped, meaning like it was no investment. It was everything that I had. My parents, my parents specifically helped out quite a bit just to get us going. Because as you know, like starting off, if you're going like a traditional route, you're like trying to finance it. They're gonna be like, show me some financial history,
Of course.
you know. And so I'm like, I need money so I can start this. So that's how I can get history. But so like, once I realized that I was gonna, because I was just fresh out of my undergrad was in business, so I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get some loans and do this the textbook way. That wasn't gonna happen, of course, and so I had to bootstrap it completely, and so self-funded completely, and maxed out credit cards, everything you could do, like this went all in. So, but this location is interesting because, again, I had zero experience on it, let alone like locking down Woolies in a good location. Didn't have a broker, didn't have anything. What I did is I used to have a business partner. And what we did is we drove up to Oceanside and we just drove down to the coast, just like looking left and right, looking like that's an open building. That's an open building. And Encinitas was a lot different back then. It was 2014, and this building where I'm in now was empty. It wasn't used for anything, believe it or not. So a corner location, right in Encinitas downtown. It was used really as storage.
okay,
It was a carpenter who used to use it just for storage. The guy next to me, the sign shop, he's been there since 1988.
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
shop. He was there, and where Modern Times is now, that was vacant actually. There was like a thread store, a military.
and it was a Mexican one. What was the name?
Filiberto's?
Yeah, Filiberto's.
Yeah, Filiberto's. That was there. They had been there for a long time too. And where the gelato is now, they used to be like another like a smoothie spot. But where we were at right now, it was nothing. Believe it or not,
Wow.
So when we drove by it, there was a sign that said "For lease by owner, phone number."
Yeah.
Stop. It's like a great location.
Yeah.
Call that number, and this gentleman answers, and we just asked him, "Hey, are you leasing this spot? We're on the Coast Highway." And he says, "Yeah, who are you guys?" And we just told him like, "Hey, we just want to open a coffee shop. This is like a great location." This gentleman was my landlord. His name is Ron. To this day, he lives out in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
So he was a little bit out of touch with what was happening in Encinitas. Yeah, I told him what we wanted to do. His immediate answer was no. He's like,
Okay,
hey,
wow.
He just said, "Who are you guys?
Yeah.
No experience."
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. No, of course. So so immediately we were shot down. We kind of moved on. We were looking at other places. We always kept that on the back burner. And so for like months on end, we just kind of kept in touch with them. We're like, hey, we really like your spot. We think we really do well there. But the fact that we had zero experience in what we were doing,
Yeah.
he was a little reluctant.
Of course.
But we kept pressing, and I think what happened was, I've never talked about this, but I think what happened was, we liked this spot so much that we actually hired an architect to sort of draw
Yeah.
just to like, hey, what could this look
That's
like?
great.
So we started spending some money.
Okay.
And I think at that point, I think he realized how serious we were. He's like, I'm like, yeah, these guys are spending thousands of dollars already on renderings. Yeah, no lease, nothing. And I think in my head, I believed I was gonna get that spot because our conversation started to get a little bit more friendly.
But you knew it since that moment that you started that, you knew it that place is gonna be for me.
You just believe it.
Yeah, you believe it or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, we're gonna get
Yeah,
that
we're
spot.
not going with the flows.
Yes, exactly. So that's really how we got that spot. No brokers, nothing. Like it was almost like a napkin deal.
Yeah.
And our landlord, we just, hey, how about this? 5 years, cool. Yeah, the rent, cool. Like, and we just went from there.
Okay.
And he's been an amazing landlord for us because without him, I mean, he's been so gracious to us, and it's part of the reason why we're still here.
Yeah.
That, I mean, it's not any more romantic than that. That's literally how we got that location.
That's great. Like, that's a great story. And what happened at the end? Like right now, you look back and like 10 years ago, and you tell him like, yeah, I told you that I was.
Yeah, no, once we opened and he saw what we did to it, because here's the other thing too. He gave us 0 TI
Yeah.
to do everything. He was just like, you want to do it? Build it. Yeah, build it. So we have to do everything. We're like supposed to, all the food. So we got it up. And so once we finished, he actually came and visited us. And he actually was a coffee guy. He really likes coffee. So I think that helped. The fact that we were like really into coffee. And so when he came and saw it, I mean, he over, from that moment on, he was
Right.
all right, you guys are going to do good. So he comes and visits occasionally. Maybe once a year.
He has free coffee now.
He has free coffee.
Yeah, free coffee.
He has free coffee, yeah.
Oh, that's great. For example, like us, he was, like a realtor. I mean, us coming from another country, not knowing anybody here. And when they told us Encinitas, I didn't spend a lot of times in my life. But when we decided to actually make a restaurant, I always thought like North County is the place to be. You kind of, such a great community, great people. The people is more open-minded, I think. It's right, like different things, they are not like in the box. Or like a square mind, like we said down there. Square mind, like mente cuadrada, it seems. So I think, like Encinitas was a place for us, definitely, but all of our restaurant, it was completely different. We got a realtor, and then the realtor, got us a deal, and then, like that process, and they, like you are telling me, like they were like, hey, well, who are you? They need proof of bank accounts, of like photos, renders, what do you have in Mexico, like prove that what are you saying is real and that you're bringing a real concept here. They ask, I don't even know how many things that I was saying, like, what do they think we're gonna do? It's just a restaurant. I mean, like, what's your blog, blog type? And I was like, bro, like, what are you telling me all these things? We just we want to lease a place, but here,
we're trying to give you money.
Yeah, we're trying to give you money and we're gonna bring money. And they ask you like so many questions, like, me coming from another country is completely different. The negotiations, the labor costs, the people, like how to manage and how to administrate business here. Of course, is completely different mindset. But I mean, that's a good thing as well because everything here is made like in good terms. In Mexico, it's always like if you know a guy and you have the money, you can do whatever you want. And here, no, like you go and you make the line like everybody else. And you ask for the permission like everybody else, and they give you the permission. So I mean, I think that's a great part as well of being here. And let me ask you this one, like when in regards of the coffee, what makes you different? Because I see it. Well, on my side probably there's more, but we are on the same street. I see like 2 more other coffee shops, which to be completely honest with you, I prefer yours. 100%. It's not because you are here. Like I really invite people to this thing. On the concept is that I really like it. Of course, people in Encinitas, but as well, concept that I believe that they are great. You have a great product, a great coffee, which I love it, and I love that you have bagels. I would love if you have bagels every single day, man, because we're always looking for some place to have breakfast, and those bagels are great. But what makes you different? Or it's the quality, is the flavors, it's just the concept. What makes you different from the other?
That's I get asked that question a lot, through the 10 years, and the answer that I've come to the conclusion of is that, imagine for a moment, that a barista is at this one location for 10 years.
Yeah.
The knowledge they get, the quality that they're able to perform, especially if they're a good barista. If that knowledge stays with that business for that long, which is rare for a barista, barista is a job in a few years, maybe, and then you grow up, you want a big boy job, big girl job. So for me, I've been that. I've been from the very beginning. I've been the person who sourced all the coffee, making finding the coffee, buying it from different brokers from different countries, roasting it, and at the same time, I'm learning how to do it better, how to roast it better, how to make the coffee better. I'm learning about how coffee extracts, how to get the profile to taste better, depending on which coffee I'm using. So I've been that knowledge to stay with this one shop this entire time. So in other coffee shops, most owners are probably not as hands-on, and that's fine. They'll hire a program, they'll get a roaster or a head barista, a manager. They start running that, but you get turnover in those positions. Unless you're paying really, really well, partners there for 10, 20 years. But in most cases, they're going to turn over, and some of that knowledge just gets lost, even if they have a good turnover with somebody. Right? That experience is lost, and you kind of have to take a couple steps back, and then maybe develop a new one. But I think for me, at least on that product side, I believe it's really because I've just been there this entire time. I still make coffee. But tomorrow I'm working at the bar. Just like all my other baristas. And so that allows my baristas to learn from me. If they're learning from someone that's been at that job for 10 years, like it's invaluable knowledge. So I think that's part of it. And then secondly, the community, as like you mentioned earlier, like everyone that comes there for the most part, man, they all know each other. And I've seen people that didn't know each other come to Ironsmith individually, and all of a sudden they see the same person every morning, and they just start becoming friends. And so there's like this energy that happens inside that shop that you feel. And I think that's a big part of it. And I would imagine most coffee shops have that to some degree. You get regulars, and every coffee shop needs the regulars. That's how any business can survive, especially a coffee shop. So, but for us, I think having this really small shop, I mean, you can have like 10 people in there. It's gonna look. That's right. But there's that energy you feel. So I think those are the two things, like really the community that's formed inside the shop that makes Ironsmith different. And again, on the product side, and I've just been there this entire time. So I've been the same guy that's been roasting our coffee since day one, and I still do it to this day.
And when you first started, like you said, like roasting coffee at the beginning, do you have like any idea on how to do it? You were like asking people like, hey, how do I do a coffee? Or like, I don't know, not a coffee, but like a cappuccino, a macchiato, like a chai latte. You were at the beginning like, how do I do this? And I already have a coffee shop and I don't know how to do it.
100%. So I look back at that time and I'm like, man, I can't believe people drank that. Because I've learned so much about roasting in this bars, and naturally, right, you do something for that long, you hopefully you get better at it, or you're improving. So I look back at that and I'm like, I thought I knew, and I think that's an important part, is I believed I knew what I was doing. I didn't lose our lives, I wouldn't have been doing it. So I believed I knew exactly what I was doing, and I would do it, and then like, ooh, I tweak that a little bit, and for every part of it, like even making the espresso, learning how to I take a very scientific approach to like making coffee. I have all these tools and measure everything, and I have like an objective metric. I was like, oh, this is what good coffee is going to taste like. So I've learned to utilize those tools, honestly, through the help of even some friends that I know in the coffee industry that are much better than me. Especially at the time. They were gracious enough to mentor me for even just a little bit. They would tell me, like, they would come and tell me, like, hey, you should try this. And I knew what their pedigree was. I knew where they came from in the coffee industry. And so I took that part. I wasn't offended by it. They could have told me my coffee tastes like crap. Of course. I was like, all right, so how do I fix it? So I took it with like an open approach.
Okay, so that's so interesting. I mean, happen all the time, like in this business. I think like most of the business owners that I've talked to, they sometimes don't even know, like how to run a profit and loss. They don't know, and really, I know guys that they have 10 restaurants in Mexico City. They don't know how to run a profit and loss. I'm completely honest with you. They just like the idea of having something like, I want to do this business, not necessarily like a restaurant or a bar or whatever they are doing. And they're like, I want to do this, but I don't know, probably like you said, I don't know the basis of the business. And I think that sometimes in life you don't have like more options. Like you need to learn. If you have like this idea, like you or me, like I want to do a coffee shop, and in my case, I want to do a restaurant, even that you don't know perfectly all the areas. If you want to do that, like at the end, you will learn and you will absorb like a sponge from everyone, even your employees. I mean, that there's employees that are great. They know how to make great coffee. And you're even like, oh my god, like this is way better than what I'm doing probably, and I'm learning on that him or her.
Yeah, no, that's a good point that you make. I mean, I had a friend tell me before I opened, she owned a restaurant in like Hermosa Beach, and she told me exactly that. And I remember her saying like listen to the customers, like to the point of like maybe your trash can shouldn't be here or here. Like you just see where people go, like just listen and like observe. You will figure out that flow, and just be open-minded about things. That's a good point, because that's exactly when I started, I knew what a P&L was, but I didn't know how to make it look good. I was like, how do I fine tune this? So that took a lot too, because I am that too for my business. I was accounting, all the books. Like I like doing it. I had to learn to enjoy doing it, and it sounds funny, but because without financial control of your business,
Yeah, you're doomed.
what are you doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, even if you have like a great product, great service, like if you don't have your numbers like perfect, like the business is done. You can be like overspending and everything. And what was like the most difficult part for you to have this success that you're having right now? Because it's a successful place, a place that it's been here for 10 years. I would love to, to accomplish 3 years here, and I'm gonna feel like I'm great, But what was like the point where you said like I'm not losing money anymore, or I already like recovered my investment on this place? Like that took like a long time for you, or
It took longer than it probably needed to be. What I mean by that is, and especially here in Encinitas and where we're at, from day one, I mean, we always had customers, right? There wasn't a moment where I was like, crickets, or the people out, right?
Yeah.
So we had that luxury of, for whatever reason, maybe we were like the new kids on the block and people wanted to check us out.
Yeah.
So we always had customers coming in, and I believe we've always had a decent, if not really great product from the very beginning. So we always had that flow of cash flow coming in.
okay,
Where things could have gone really wrong is the management side of it. I had a partner at the time, and maybe we definitely overspent on labor, and that's where things can go really wrong. And not really figuring out certain costs and kind of just overspending on a lot of things, not really knowing how to manage that part. And it took years for us to figure that out.
Wow.
Really, we were just like, oh yeah, you just have many people, and I wasn't. So the hours that we have now are set for a reason. We close fairly early. A lot of the big reason why that is that's a complete 8-hour shift. Right?
Yeah.
6 to 2, it's 8 hours. We don't need another employee. We don't need another shift. But people ask me, man, why don't you work until 4 or 5? I was like, well, if someone works from 6 to 2 to 8, but there's only like 4 more hours on the tail end.
Yeah.
That's the second shift of people. But most people don't want to work 2 hours or 4 hours, so I'd have to like give them probably 6 and 8 hours.
That's right.
So you're taking on more labor, and if not enough people come in on the tail end,
you're done.
right. And a big reason why that is, in my opinion, is like we don't do any food. We're on the kitchen, we're not making anything. And in that time of the day, a lot of people, from what I see, they want something. American culture, we're not sitting until 5, 6, 7 p.m. For the majority of people aren't drinking espresso, of course. Right? I know in other countries that's a thing. Yeah, exactly. We'll be drinking till 9, 10 p.m. That's just not an American thing, at least around here. And there's no college really nearby, so there's not a lot of people, kids studying. But I think the food aspect is a big part. And so once I realized that, I was like, I'm not really a food, I don't have a kitchen. That's not my thing, and I don't think that's something I want to get into. So figuring out those things took a lot.
Yeah, I don't recommend you like it's insane, man. Like every single day, I'm like, what is this? Like no, I mean that's interesting. What are you saying? Because I think I think your hours are perfect because you don't need more. Even if you're opening, I understand the part. If you're opening like evening, like at 5 p.m. or which there's not a lot of places open on coffee. Even if you have people, they're gonna hit those numbers, which requires like labor costs plus what I'm selling.
Right.
So for you, it's not worth it. Like open, that's the real answer. It's not worth it. Like open later.
Totally.
Would you try to open like? You change your hours like in the summer thing because here, what I noticed is that this beautiful town Encinitas have like, for me and a lot of people say like slow season and the good season, and the slow season, which is November, December, January, February, for me that I'm a restaurant, the worst. Right. Like super, like even if you have like events or you have people and you have a lot of people that support you and whatnot, for me in a restaurant, more than me, I'm selling ceviches, tuna tostadas, the tequilas, the micheladas, the Mexican food that we're a summer place. For me, it's like a pretty bad season. But for you, must be pretty good. Like the cold season, for you is probably the opposite at a restaurant.
Yeah, no, the winter, the fall, going into the holiday season right here, man, it's really good because even though people leave town like for the holidays, people are coming here to vacation, of course, for the holidays. So those are good. Those we ramp up quite a bit for the holiday season, of course. And then once the New Year hits, that's where we really rely on our base customers. You know, like the regulars that live here, that come here every day. So but I would say that would be our slower season, but it's still pretty good just because we have such a good regular base that people come every day, you know, like even like yourself, you're regular. You come so frequently.
But for you must be, well, I mean, I don't know a lot of the coffee industry, of course, or the coffee shops, but I think that's a good part because the people, it doesn't matter if it's like the summer, if it's like December, if it's cold, if it's winter, if you have like a super sunny day, they're still gonna go and have a cup of coffee.
Right.
Which is great.
Right. And yeah, I think a big part of that is, of course, you know, although it's crazy to think about it now, but, you know, it's a $5 cappuccino. Right? You know, that's an easier pill to swallow than, say, probably a $40 plate of something.
Yeah.
You know, you can do that every day.
Of
People are
course.
willing to do that.
That's right.
$5 cup of coffee every day. It's part of it's one of those things that I've always believed, and I think I've talked to a couple of other coffee owners, is that people might give up a bunch of other things in life, like things get hard, but they're not going to give up that.
That's 100%. 100%.
Yeah, you know, it's like that.
It's like alcohol as well. It's like alcohol and coffee. Like the people, they're gonna stop drinking a beer of $5. You know.
They're going to give up about other things first.
Yes.
Before they go.
And I think actually like coffee nowadays becomes a lot of like a routine in a lot of the people's lives. So they're like, I'm just gonna wake up, I'm gonna go running, and more that we are like in a, it's a healthy city. The people, it's an outdoor city. The people go, they run, they're in the bicycles, they're in the gym, and always they are after that or before that. They stop for a coffee.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that you have a coffee machine in your house. The top coffee machine, which I have one, like the top coffee machine, I don't use it. I go to your place all the time. So it's
just a mess.
Yeah, because it's a mess. And my coffee, even if I buy like, that happened to me, like one of my guys, one of my best friends, he went to Colombia and he was like, hey, should I bring you coffee from there? And because I love coffee. And he was like, sorry, and I was like, yeah, of course, bring me like a bag of this coffee. And he was like, this is premium, this is one of the top coffees in the world, like blah blah. So anyway, so he brought me the coffee, and then the machine with the coffee. Well, I have that coffee still there from like last year, and I go to your place and have the coffee, you know. So
you know, I have a machine at home too, and I barely use it, you know, because I just come straight here.
of course,
I think a lot of it is sometimes you're gonna see your friend.
yeah,
I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
People are just coming because they're like, oh, and I've seen people that come, or regulars, friends that I know.
Yeah.
They come and they usually hang out for a long time. But when they come, when they get their coffee, no one else is there. They're like, all right, I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
Like, here we go. So that's a big part of it for sure. And so the summer for us is really busy, of course, like here too, like Slam. The fall going into the holiday order season, really busy. And then once the new year hits, they definitely compared to the summer or the holidays, it definitely slows down. And the other thing too is interesting, when the weather is really, really nice, which can happen, we don't know. But when it's really nice, and it's like, you know, even like right now, less people get coffee. They're headed to the beach.
Yeah.
They're headed to do other things.
yes.
So we might get our morning regulars, but the rest of the day, very slow.
Very slow.
When it's like that nice outside.
Okay. And tell me what's like another thing that I want to ask you, like you that been here for a long time and you see a lot of changes in Encinitas for sure. It's 10 years, a lot of things happen. What do you think? Like, what's the key to the success of a business? That it doesn't matter if it's a coffee shop, a restaurant, a bar, a nightclub. Like, what's the key, or what do you think is the key to have success in a place, in a business?
You know, it's gonna sound cliche, but I think that authenticity is like super important, especially here in Encinitas. I think, you know, the locals that live here, man, they can smell an authenticity from a mile away.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, if you're an authentic business and whatever you're doing, if you show that you're passionate about it, like, people will eventually start coming there because they like, you know, and I know that from being a customer of this place, of this town too. You know, I go to certain businesses specifically because I believe in their product and they stick to it. So there's an authentic part, and I think it goes. I mean, it's not just Encinitas.
Yeah.
Like, you can have a great vibe in any city, you know, but if they see like this is something authentic about this place for what, you know, whatever capacity, I think people will stop coming.
And that's what I love about your place, because it's, well, first of all, the product is great, and it's authentic. That's what I'm trying to say. It's authentic, and I think because there's a lot of, I mean, we're in a touristic zone as well. There's a lot of tourists in Encinitas, or a lot of tourism, and I think a lot, like, we live out of the locals as well. Like the locals, I think they are the ones that actually support the business here. But if you're a tourist, they are like in other coffee shops and they are like in other restaurants. But I think like the truly like the real local people of Encinitas, they're in your place, and you can notice like the people that went to your place, that they're going to your place, like the way they dress, the way they look, they're like real guys that they live in Encinitas, like with that vibe of California, which I think that is why everybody goes to your place. They love it.
I think that I believe that too. I think there's something about, and it's not me, you know, like it's taken a life of its own.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not there, and it's still, you know, I feel like that when, you know, oh, great day, I'm just there. So there's something about like the culture that's the shop is taking on, and it's taken on various forms. And I've seen, you know, of course, people will come and go and they move and all that, but we've always had like a steady base of people that sort of get reborn. You know, like a group of people might be my regulars now. And they, you know, they live their life, and maybe they move to a different state, and then all of a sudden, like a new group of people fill that void.
Yes.
Some like the new regulars, and they just stick around too. And like I've seen it happen. I've seen people again not know each other, come to Ironsmith, and they, you know, they start seeing each other, and then they start dating, and then they get married.
No way.
Kids. And then I see them get divorced. Like I've seen the entire thing.
That's great.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the entire.
Well, if
thing.
they get married, then you should like give them free coffee for sure in the coffee at least, you know? That would be a good one. If you know each other in earnestly, like give you free coffee in your wedding.
Yeah, I've seen it all. I've seen first dates go bad.
Yeah.
I've seen it all there. You know, I've been there. So I've seen everything happen there.
And it's not, for example, like me that I'm here like every single day. Of course, I'm new, you know. But even in Mexico, the business that I have there that they've been for a long time, mostly restaurants. That right now I'm here and I'm not there. Like I told you, it's different because out there I can have a lot of hands, a lot of people. The labor cost is nothing. I mean, sadly, well, you know, minimum wage out there is I think $10 a day.
Yeah.
They actually work super hard. That's why Mexican service is the best in the world because they work super hard. So now you can tip them down there, you know. And here, no, they make good money. They're not like chill, you know.
It's crazy.
They don't care. Like actually, I just got a general manager from Mexico City that he was in one of our restaurants down there.
Okay.
And he finally get the visa, the work visa, and everything. So finally he's here. And I was, you know, and at the morning he asked me his second day, and he's coming from a place where he had like an army of people, and he's just like with, you know, like with the radio, like, hey, check table 22, check table 25, the plates, this guy, you know.
Right.
And he asked me in the morning, hey, I have a question. Who's the one that swiped the floor? And I was like, me. I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, me. I swiped the floor. And like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't have like guys? And I was like, no. And I said, what about the servers? I was like, no, they work 2 hours and then they leave. And the side work? And I was like, yeah, I mean, probably, you know, a little bit of side work by, you know, cleaning the glasses or like fold the napkins. But that's it. They're not gonna swipe the entire restaurant. It's not like Mexico. Because they are like used to other things. It's a cultural shock, you know, for me and for them as well. But how do you manage that situation when I'm not, for example, I'm not in the restaurant on there because I have a lot of fans and I know that it's good. But how do you manage that situation here? That if you're not in your place, it doesn't like stress you that you're not there. Like something happened, like the service, like the customer service. Even I think there are a lot of times when you're not there and the service is great.
Right.
That's the question, and you know it. But it's so stressful. If I'm not here literally 1 hour right now, it's so stressful to me because I know that something happened, or the service, or the lights, or the music, or turn on. You know, it's a lot. How do you manage that part?
You know, it's a good question. It took a long time for me to let go. In the beginning, like maybe first 4 to 5 years, man, this is before I had a family, but I was there, you know, sun up, sun down. Like I stayed there because I was scared. I was afraid of something happening, and one of my employees got ill, and I handle a service situation, and I had to be there to sort of diffuse it. Or if like something was made bad, I'd have to correct it. So it took me a long time to learn to let go, and it got to the point where you just kind of need to. You got to learn to let go and trust, especially the people that have hired, that one, they're going to make mistakes. That it's just going to happen, right? And then you just have to learn to be okay with that. And then learning to communicate with them, like how to correct it, and this is why it was wrong. And not necessarily scold them, but know that, and communicate to them that, mainly that I care, that we should care. And again, going back to, it's more about service than it is product in some ways. Yeah. And understand that and this is me talking to my employees, like that's the most important part. And I care about that. And I'm not mad, but I just need to know this is the reason why. And once they like understood that, they all got, you know, very good at handling the situation. They still make mistakes, but I had to learn to be like, you know, I make mistakes too. They're gonna make mistakes, but as long as they know what my base like foundation is on service, and they know how to communicate that to the customer, I'm okay with it. Of course. So there's a part of me that just like lets go and understands mistakes happen. Even when I'm there or not there, it's gonna happen.
And I think it's a lot of like you said, I think you can solve anything with good attitude, which I think a lot of the people that work, they have a great attitude.
It's true.
So even if you know, but well, that's another question. Like in a coffee or something in a restaurant, a lot of things can go wrong. And when I say a lot, it's a lot. It could be, you know, you have a margarita that is not making like, it's probably too sweet, or it's not that sweet, or something in the kitchen is, you know, overcooked, or it's not pretty, you know. So those things happen every single day in the best restaurants in the world. You can be in the Cipriani in New York, in the Per Se, in the Novo, it doesn't matter. You can be in a local little restaurant. So those things happen every single day. Not in regards of the food, but something like always something's gonna happen. I think, I don't know, correct me please if I'm wrong, I think in a coffee there's not a lot of mistakes that can be done. Or what do you think? Because if I go in, hey, I want a nice chai latte with a shot of espresso, which is what I drink every single day, or if somebody's like, hey, I just want an Americano or a cappuccino, there's a lot of mistakes on that. Like, it's not that easy to commit mistakes. I don't. That's what I'm trying to say.
So you know, a drink like that, it's very hard to mess up. Like a dirty chai. Yeah, it's hard to mess up. Mainly because you know it's milk, espresso, and a sweetener. Yeah, and so as long as you know the sweetness is there, it's gonna taste good. And I always tell the employees like, look, whatever it is, whatever the customer wants, my deal is just make it happen. Yeah, don't do the thing where you're like, oh, what else can I do? Well, you said you wanted this, but here's something just make it. Of course. Okay. And again, going back to the attitude side of it is, you know, it happens. Sometimes, you know, we're humans. Sometimes maybe a barista's having a bad day. Yeah. And so when a customer maybe is being a little picky about something, maybe the barista's going to take that negatively. Like that part is hard to control, of course. But you're right. There's not really a lot that can go wrong. You're either going to make it too sweet or not too sweet enough. Or if they get the purist, if they're getting like a cup of coffee or a shot of espresso, and if that's done wrong, that's a little bit more difficult to fix. You know, you have to really know like how to fix the grind size and the extraction, the time, and all that. That's a little more difficult. And if someone's that picky, it's, you know, maybe they won't be happy at all. And I've learned that from being a customer myself. If I go to a coffee shop, you would imagine I'm like the pickiest guy in all. Yeah. Like if I go to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes, you know, like subjectively subpar, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm just gonna, you know, hey, it is what it is. Yeah. So I've learned to like, kind of like go that side from a customer perspective myself. You know, I'm not as picky as someone might imagine. Yeah. I used to be that guy.
Super picky.
Yeah, I used to be that guy.
I know.
But well, I pick my coffee shop specifically too. Like I see like the machines they're using. I see the way the baristas are handling things. You know, they know what they're doing. But yeah, there's not a lot that can go wrong. And there's things that probably are similar, like the ice machine stopped working, or the internet went down, or you know, point of sale. Exactly. Things can go wrong like that too. But in terms of making coffee, you're right. Once I have my boundaries of what I set up in terms of what my baristas are doing. And do it to a point where like there's a little bit of automation that happens too with my shop now, and that helps with consistency. So there's a lot more automation that I implement, and that helps with the consistency. It takes a little bit away from the barista skill set though, because I made it so automated to some degree. So I'm controlling the things that can go wrong by automating quite a bit of things.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And also another thing that I would love to ask you, like, why 10 years? That it's a long period of time, a decade. And why not open a second, a third, a fourth? Why you don't have like that business model, which a lot of coffee shops do, like franchising them? Tell me a little bit more about like why not?
Right. That's a good question. I get, I get asked. I've been asked that since the first year, which is a valid question. So when I opened the coffee shop, I didn't really have a vision. I didn't have this vision of scale. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm gonna be this guy that opens up a bunch of shops. That wasn't on my mind. My mind was, I'm gonna open up this coffee shop and be a really good coffee roaster and be known in San Diego as known as one of the best coffee shops. That was like kind of the only thing on my mind. So from the very beginning, I didn't have that vision. And you know, first year, second year, we're doing good, and we're figuring things out. And naturally, people start asking me, maybe they're developers or maybe they're investors, they ask me like, "Hey, you're on a second too." And I think the common notion is that more is better, and so I fell into that too. I'm like, well, yeah, how do I open up a second, third store? But I think deep down inside, it was never something that I was passionate about doing. And I think I realized there's a couple of coffee shops that I model myself after that I just love as a brand and from a quality perspective. And a lot of those coffee shops that I love are very small. They have maybe 2 locations, maybe, and the rest of them are just like one coffee shop, and they stick to what they really do, and they do it really, really well. And I think I always gravitate towards that, and not a coffee shop that opened up a budget. All my friends that have coffee shops that I know here in San Diego,
they're like
opened up multiple coffee shops.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of your friends or people that you know, they're like, hey, I give you the money, just let's open
just
5 more, because if it's too good, if it's been there for 10 years, that means that you've been running a successful business, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And right now, would you like to open a second store, a third store, probably in another state, in another country, or not right now? It's not part of your plans?
And to be completely honest, it's you know, here's the thing. I've gone to the point where I'm actually looking at places and negotiating leases, and you know, the finances just don't work out. It's a numbers game at that point. I'm just like, wow, that TI is not going to work for them, and you know, it's just not. I have to build a kitchen, like to make that rent. And so I've gone to that degree where I'm actually, but it always falls through. And mainly because of me, I'm like, no, I can't do it. It's not gonna work out. And I think I've gone to that point, and I realized, no, I don't know. The truth of my heart tells me that's not really what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you leave a lot on the table potentially.
Yeah.
But I'm being honest with myself, and especially because I like it. I mean, I love my life. I love the balance that I have right now. I have 2 young boys. I like to spend time with them. I'm very active. I like to run. And it's like I have my schedule. It's hard for me to want to give that up right now.
I need to tell you that I thought you were at least like 29 years old. I don't know, like 30 years. You look so young. Like you look great. I mean,
I turned 40 this year.
Yeah, I know. To be honest with you, like you look 32 easily.
Thank you.
But that's so yeah, it's not what do you want to do right now? And I see, I know this with all the owners of other places around Encinitas, that they're pretty much like the same mentality about that you have right now. That I prefer to stick like in one place and make the best out of it, because you're gonna get at the end like more. It's gonna be better than having like probably 10 and you know, like forget about the service or like changing process. So they stick a lot to like 1 or even 2 or 3 location max.
Right.
Even if they have a great product which they can like, you know, upscale, they're like, I'm just gonna focus to be the best one. That's what are you trying to say? Like, I want to be the best coffee shop, and I think, you know, for 10 years in the market, still packed every single day. I mean, that's a huge success.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it was, you know, there's a little bit of course, like intimidation, maybe a little fear.
Yeah.
And I'm joking when I say this, but maybe a little serious. I had a friend tell me one time, and he had multiple coffee shops. He's like, you know, you're eventually going to hire that employee that suits you. Oh, they are. You know?
Yeah.
I want to deal with that. And so it's like things like that. And I had another friend actually tell me, his dad actually owns quite a lot of restaurants here in Southern California.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to sit with him, just like at a family party. And he looked at me, he asked me the kind of the same question. He's like, do you want to open up more shops? And I was like, I'm kind of like, maybe, I think so. And then I remember he told me, and this may be an exaggeration, but he's like, look, you want to be very intentional if you want to scale. You want to go for maybe 5, 6, 7. And he was using that because that was his experience. But he said, you want to be able to open up that many restaurants, especially what you do, because at that point, that's when you're really going to make some money, and then you're going to really be able to hire a GM. But you open a second store accidentally, you're just going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to be bouncing around
That's
the shop,
totally true.
maybe even the third one. And so if you just casually try to open up here and there without the real plan of opening up, like, say, 10, and, you know, you got to raise money, you got to, like, there's quite a bit of things that have to happen. So I remember he told me that, and I was like, oh, man, I don't don't know if I want to admit.
No, that's totally it. Yeah, I haven't actually like think about it, but you're 100% right. Like if you have 2 or 3 restaurants or bars and nightclubs or coffee shops, like if you have just 3 or 4, you're just gonna work more and more, and more, and it's gonna be more easy to make money. You need to have 30, like you said, to have like this structure, have like a GM, and then like guys down and down and down and down. So, but yeah, that's totally right.
Once he said that, I was like, I don't know if I have that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't think I have that, or I want that.
Yeah.
I never want to say I don't have that in me. I would believe like I can do whatever I want, but it's not the direction that I want. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I'm gonna focus on that, and I've stayed true to it. I've like been very relentless with like sticking to one. Even though a lot of my friends, who I'm really good friends with, other coffee shop, I've seen them open, and the good thing is I've been able to observe their success and the struggles that they've had. So I've been able to sort of see like that success looks good. Like, here's the struggle. Am I okay dealing with that too? I'm like, I don't know. And I will say, all the coffee shops that I know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the coffee shops that I know that have scaled, they all have to do food.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them.
You have to do
all
food.
of them. Yeah.
Some
The big ones. Yeah.
Some of them become bakeries.
Yes.
Like
that's
have to make their own croissants and like to really make it.
That's what interesting. I was reading the other day. There's these guys. I think the name is Blank or something like that. Like coffee. Just like 2 random guys in New York. Like they have a little band. Right now they're like competing with Starbucks. Like the valuation of that. Like they go up to the skies. I don't even know why. I haven't tried their coffee with right now. But like
it might be in LA. Like I'm in New York.
Yeah, I think in LA they come as well.
Yeah, I think their whole thing was like quick, fast service.
Yes.
Quality. From what I heard, I don't even know if that's like a topic of theirs.
Yeah.
But I think for them it was like the speed.
The speed.
Yeah, you're there, you get it, and it was like that. Maybe they saw that gap at Starbucks or something, and they're like, oh, we're gonna fix that.
Yeah.
Black coffee. Like, I've heard of certain businesses, and it's with coffee. I mean, branding can get you like an instant sort of customer base, like really quickly, and like stick true. I guess how long is that? Sometimes here in America, I'm curious. Like most of the coffee shops that I truly enjoy as a customer, they are sort of like not the flashiest. I mean, you might know them if you're a purist and you're like, I know this coffee. Yeah. And so those are the ones that I've always enjoyed the best.
Yeah.
There's different, coffee in America is so interesting because it's transformed quite a bit. What it is now is what it was even in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Coffee was. There was Starbucks and you had diners and there was a couple of good coffee shops here and there, but it wasn't what really
Right now, yeah.
the specialty coffee.
And I think there's a lot, for example, in Mexico. I don't know if you've been to Mexico City.
Yeah.
Mexico City, like you have places like La Roma, La Condesa, Polanco, which like there's a lot right now, like 2025, like there's a lot of like rum clubs, let's say. So there's like literally coffees right now. Like they open a new coffee shop every single week for like group of runners, and there's another one we are like for the people that is into bike, and there's like for the hikers. So it's like coffee shops where are becoming like clubs.
Right.
So
I mean there's a little bit of a revolution happening now too. I remember in New York, like if you knew like a speakeasy, that was like a thing. If you knew about speakeasy, but I guess less and less people are doing that thing. Like these like concept stores have been popping up where it might be like this retail brand that's partnered up and it's this concept store with some retail coffee shop, like
Ralph's,
exactly.
Yeah.
They have coffee in the middle, but it's just like this.
Which in marketing is great because I see like all the people with these like the Ralph's coffee and the cup and blah blah, and they're just, but they don't even care about the product.
Right.
So that's a scene. Yeah. And that's where I like understand your part, which you're like truly like good coffee, good product, great quality, and you're not just like doing like marketing things. You're being authentic, like
right. There's something about doing that's great. I mean, marketing is always great, right? I guess I focus more on longevity.
Yeah.
And like I got to do this for a while. I got to sustain. This is all I do. So this has got to sustain me, my family. Like I don't want just like a 2-month live of good sales and then what. So nothing wrong with marketing and doing that. Obviously that's super helpful.
No, I understand your point. Yeah.
So
and well, I just have to. Like one of my last questions is if you give like an advice to someone that is hearing us on if they want to open, it could be a restaurant or a bar or a coffee shop, mainly a coffee shop, in, let's say in California, let's say in San Diego, let's say in Encinitas or whatever they are listening, what's like your best advice for someone that wants to open something and probably they don't have or the money or the knowledge like we were talking about it? Like, what would be your best advice?
Ooh, best advice to somebody. You probably can agree to this. You got to be relentless, right? And you have to be adaptable. And that's like a very broad piece of advice. But you just never know like what's gonna come your way. Life changes for you too. Like your personal life can change. Your business, like your leasing negotiations can change. So being adaptable, I mean, that's just like a lesson for life.